Have you ever noticed that just before something big shifts in your life, everything seems to fall apart? The plans unravel, relationships strain, doubt creeps in. It feels like you're moving backward, like all your efforts are wasted. But what if this collapse isn't a failure? What if it's a sign you're getting closer than ever to the life you've been building? This isn't just a motivational idea. It's a principle deeply rooted in nature, energy, and the quantum field. Before a new structure can emerge, whether in science, systems, or the human soul, there must first be space. And space is often created through what feels like destruction. From a vibrational perspective, when your inner frequency rises, when you begin healing, growing, choosing differently, your external world must shift to reflect that. But here's the paradox. Your current reality is made up of people, habits, and situations that matched your old frequency. As you evolve, those outdated alignments begin to fall away, and it rarely happens gently. Jobs fall through. Emotions surge. You feel tired, overwhelmed, unsure. This is not regression, it's reorganization. The field around you is collapsing, what no longer resonates, so it can bring in what does. In systems theory, this moment is known as the bifurcation point, a tipping point where the old order can't sustain itself and chaos steps in to push things forward. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also necessary, because without disintegration, there can be no reintegration. Without the falling apart, there's no room for the coming together. And this is the part that matters most. What you choose to believe during the breakdown determines what reality forms after it. If you interpret the chaos as failure, you'll default back into familiar patterns and repeat the loop. But if you can see it as a sign of transformation in motion, you'll stabilize a new timeline before it even arrives. So, if it feels like your life is unraveling right now, consider this. Maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe it's finally falling into place. When everything starts to fall apart, the mind screams, something's wrong. It looks like chaos, feels like rejection, and sounds like the voice of fear asking, why is this happening to me? But here's what most people don't see. In that moment, collapse is not the end. It's the initiation. In quantum physics, there's a concept called the collapse of the wave function. Reality exists in a state of pure potential until we focus on it, till we observe. That focus collapses. Infinite possibilities into one outcome. But before that collapse, there's disorder, vibration, energy in motion. Nothing has fully formed yet, and anything is possible. The same is true in your life. Right before everything comes together, it often looks like it's falling apart. But what's really happening is this. Your old reality, the one built on outdated thoughts, beliefs, relationships, and energetic patterns, is destabilizing because it no longer matches who you're becoming. Think of it like upgrading the software of your inner world. The outer structures can't hold your new vibration, so they begin to break down. But the breakdown isn't sabotage, it's synchronization. The field is adjusting not to punish you, but to align with your new energetic signature. And that's why this phase feels so confusing. Plans stall, emotions run high. Things that once felt stable begin to wobble. It's easy to think you've lost your way, but in truth you've lost your old map. And that's a good thing, because now, for the first time, you're learning to navigate through alignment, not control. This is the gap between who you were and who you're becoming. It's not a void, it's a space of raw, creative potential. And how you show up in that space, your energy, your focus, your willingness to trust will determine what comes next. So when the pieces scatter and the path disappears, don't panic. Pause, breathe, anchor into the deeper knowing. This is not the end. This is the shift. Everything falling apart, it's not destruction. It's preparation for something far greater than what your old self could have imagined. What if the pressure you're feeling isn't a sign of failure, but a sign that you're being stretched into the next version of yourself? When life starts to unravel, it often creates an intense inner friction, a war between the familiar past and the unknown future. You feel pulled in both directions. Part of you wants to hold on to what once felt safe, while another part is quietly pushing you towards something new. This isn't confusion, it's transformation in progress. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open in these moments. It's not about doing more. It's about letting go of outdated identities, limiting beliefs, and the need to control. Every outcome, what feels like emotional chaos, is often your nervous system adjusting to an upgraded frequency. This is the spiritual friction between your old self and your quantum self. And here's where many people abandon the process. Because the shift doesn't always feel inspiring, it often feels disorienting. Your calm turns to restlessness. Your clarity becomes clouded. People drift away. Plans dissolve. You question everything. But what if that's exactly what's supposed to happen? In systems theory, the point where everything becomes unstable is known as a bifurcation. A moment where pressure builds to such a degree that the system can no longer operate as it once did. It must evolve into something more complex, more coherent, more aligned. This isn't failure. It's the mechanism of growth. What you're experiencing isn't personal, it's energetic. Your inner being is reaching for coherence, and anything in your life that doesn't resonate with that higher state is being shaken loose. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but discomfort is a sign that the old framework is dissolving. The most important thing you can do during this time is stay present. Breathe through the resistance. Trust the process, even when you don't understand it. Your job isn't to force the outcome. Your job is to remain aligned while the universe rearranges. Remember, the friction isn't your enemy. It's the birth canal of your next chapter. And just beyond the breaking point is the moment when everything begins to come together. There comes a moment in every transformation when your current reality can no longer contain the energy you're beginning to embody. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you've outgrown what used to fit. You've raised your frequency. You've shifted your intention. You've healed something. And now, like a seed cracking open underground, the life you once knew starts to break. But instead of seeing this as evolution, most people interpret it as loss. And that's where they miss the miracle. From a quantum perspective, everything is energy, and the energy is always seeking coherence. When your inner world upgrades, the outer world must recalibrate. But before that new alignment locks in, there's a necessary phase of destabilization. Think of it like a snow globe. The moment you shake it, everything gets blurry before it settles into a new order. That's what you're feeling now. Fatigue, frustration, emotional surges. These aren't signs that you're broken. They're signals that your system is shedding what no longer resonates. You may feel like you're falling apart, but what's actually happening is this. Your life is making room for your next level. And yes, it can feel like chaos. Relationships shift, passions fade, old dreams lose their spark. It's not regression, it's realignment. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. But here's the part that requires deep trust. This phase is not about action. It's about awareness. Your nervous system, your energy field, your subconscious, they're all rewiring. And what they need most from you isn't control, but presence. Can you stay steady as the old dissolves? Can you stop clinging to what's crumbling and allow the unknown to take shape? Because right now, the friction you're feeling is not against the world, it's the static between who you were and who you're becoming. And the more you resist that shift, the longer the chaos lingers. But the moment you surrender, even slightly, everything begins to reorganize, not randomly, but precisely around the new signal you're sending. So if things feel like they're falling apart, breathe. Let them. You're not losing control. You're finally losing what was never truly aligned. When everything feels like it's spinning out of control, you're standing at one of the most powerful crossroads of your life. Not because of what's happening around you, but because of what's beginning to shift within you. This is the moment most people overlook, the point where you're offered a choice. Will you collapse back into the safety of the familiar? Or will you breathe through the fire and step into the unknown? This is what we call the choice point. It's not about making a logical decision, it's about choosing the frequency you want to live in. Fear or trust, contraction or expansion, doubt or presence. You see, chaos isn't random. It's intelligence in motion. And your nervous system is built to handle it if you know how to work with it rather than fight it. Your breath isn't just oxygen. It's your direct access point to stability in the storm. Your heart, when in coherence, sends signals to your brain that help you perceive reality differently, not from panic, but from clarity. So when the world around you starts shaking, when relationships shift and plans fall through, when your old identity begins to dissolve, don't rush to fix it. Don't grasp a certainty. Instead, anchor into this question. What is this collapse making space for? Because breakdowns are not blocks, they're portals. They tear open space in your life for something new to take form. But only if you stop trying to rebuild the old with your old frequency. The truth is, the discomfort you feel isn't a punishment, it's a recalibration. Your system is learning how to hold more truth, more energy, more alignment than ever before. And that means releasing everything you once clung to for stability. This is the part where your breakthrough is already in motion, even if you can't see it yet. The quantum field has already begun rearranging timelines and dissolving resistance. So, the question becomes, can you stay present long enough for the new to take root? Because when you choose trust in the middle of uncertainty, you're not just surviving the storm, you're programming the new reality that waits on the other side of it. One of the most confusing parts of transformation is this. The signs that you're on the verge of a breakthrough often look and feel like failure. You start questioning everything, your purpose, your progress, even your practices. But what if that confusion isn't a sign that you're off track? What if it's confirmation that your old track is dissolving before your new reality stabilizes? Your current frequency has to go through a period of decoherence, shaking loose of everything that no longer fits. And while this process is essential, it rarely feels graceful. In fact, the symptoms of alignment can look identical to breakdown. Here are some of the most common signs that you're in the middle of the shift, even if it doesn't feel like it. Sudden emotional surges out of nowhere. Grief, anger, or fear rise up. These aren't setbacks. They're stuck energy being released from your field to make space for clarity. Old triggers reappearing, patterns you thought you healed resurface. Not as failure, but as a final invitation to respond differently, this time with awareness. disorientation, or identity loss. You no longer relate to your old goals, friends, or beliefs. That's not regression, it's identity upgrade. Your nervous system is adjusting to a new energetic blueprint. Time feels distorted. Hours drag or fly by unpredictably. This is a sign your brain is exiting survival mode and integrating a new rhythm, moments of deep stillness amid chaos. You experience unexplainable peace. That's coherence beginning to take root. These are not warning signs. They are confirmation signals that the old frequency is losing its grip. Your inner world is changing, and the outer world is responding if the shift hasn't fully materialized yet. But here's the key. What you do in this middle space matters more than you think. If you rush to fix what's falling away, you interrupt the process. But if you slow down, breathe, and stay present even for a moment, you allow the new frequency to stabilize. So when it feels like you're lost, remind yourself you're not falling apart. You're falling into place. Discomfort isn't just a byproduct of transformation, it's the catalyst. It's the tension that stretches you beyond your limits, so you can step into a version of yourself that your old self couldn't hold. Most people resist this stage. They feel the contraction and assume something's gone wrong. But contraction is often the prelude to expansion. Think about it: your lungs contract before they fill. A wave pulls back before it crashes forward. And in the same way, your life often tightens before it blooms. This uncomfortable space where your old reality is dissolving but the new one hasn't fully formed us, where the most powerful shifts occur. It's where your nervous system recalibrates, where your identity gets rewired, where the noise of the mind is challenged by the knowing of the soul. And this space is sacred, but only if you allow it to be, because discomfort is not a punishment. It's preparation. It's the body, the heart, the field making space for something more coherent, more aligned, more alive. And when you rush to escape it, you interrupt that divine reorganization. This is where the dark night of the soul comes, in not as a curse, but as a cleansing. It's a shedding of who you're not, so who you truly are can finally rise. And though it feels personal, it's mechanical, it's energetic, it's necessary. The ego will want to run. It will say, fix this, make it stop, go back to what's safe. But the soul whispers, stay, feel, allow. Because what's trying to emerge through you can't be forced. It has to be received. So if everything feels heavy right now, if the discomfort is loud and the future unclear, don't shrink. Don't numb. Instead, pause. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe slowly and remind yourself, even this is part of my alignment. Because the truth is, the collapse isn't the end. It's the space where your next self is taking shape quietly, powerfully beneath the surface. And when you honor the discomfort, instead of resisting it, you activate the very frequency that calls your new life into form. Let's be honest, sometimes you feel like you're doing everything right. You've journaled, meditated, visualized. You've repeated your affirmations, practiced gratitude, and surrendered the outcome. And still, nothing seems to shift. So, why does the breakthrough feel just out of reach? It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because there are subtle energetic traps that even the most self-aware people fall into, patterns that silently pull you back into the very frequency you're trying to leave. Here are a few of the most common to one. Performing instead of embodying. You follow the routines, say the right words, but deep down, you're still hoping your effort will be rewarded. That's not true alignment, that's performance. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to coherence. And coherence means your inner world and outer actions are speaking the same language even when no one's watching. 2. Waiting for proof before trusting. You think, once I see the shift, then I'll believe. But that's backwards. The field mirrors your frequency, not your timeline. When you withhold trust, you broadcast doubt, and the field simply reflects that back. The transformation can't fully arrive until your energy says, I believe even before I see. 3. Overthinking the how. You get stuck asking, but how will it happen? That question contracts your field. In quantum reality, the path unfolds through infinite probabilities, not logic. The more you try to control it, the more resistance you create. Your job is not to map the route. It's to maintain the signal. 4. Negotiating with the past. You say you're ready to evolve, but part of you is still attached to the version of you that knew how to survive pain. That old identity feels safe because it's familiar. If it's limiting, but as long as you're energetically entangled with who you were, you can't fully step into who you're becoming. 5. Mistaking discomfort for misalignment. As soon as things get difficult, you assume you've made a wrong turn. But discomfort isn't always a red flag. Sometimes it's proof that you're expanding into a space your nervous system hasn't fully acclimated to yet. Awareness is everything, because the moment you recognize these energetic patterns, you loosen their grip and the field begins to respond to the real you. The moment you become aware of the energetic patterns holding you back, you're standing at the edge of real change. But awareness alone isn't enough. You have to shift the signal in the quantum field. Your life doesn't respond to your words, it responds to the frequency behind them. That means it's not about what you say, it's about what you radiate. And what you radiate is shaped by your inner state, moment to moment. So here's the real question. What are you actually broadcasting right now? Not what you're trying to manifest, not what you hope for, but what your body, your breath, and your emotions are silently echoing out into the field. If you're still carrying doubt, urgency, or fear even subconsciously, the field picks that up as your signal and reorganizes around it. But the beautiful thing is this. You don't have to force anything to change your frequency. You just have to tune in. Start with the breath. One conscious breath can interrupt an entire spiral of fear. Drop your awareness into your body. Notice where the tension is. Feel it. Don't judge it. Then gently ask, what energy would serve me now? This is where quantum alignment begins, not with effort, but with attunement. You don't raise your frequency by doing more. You raise it by becoming more present, by calming your nervous system, by choosing clarity over chaos even, if just for one breath. And here's the shift. Once you're aware of your pattern and no longer fuse to it, it begins to dissolve. You stop reacting. You start responding from alignment, not from fear. This is how the new timeline gets anchored, not through control, but through coherence. Because the field doesn't need you to hustle. It needs you to hold the frequency of your next reality before it shows up. So the next time you feel stuck or spiraling, don't ask, what do I need to do? Ask instead, what am I being asked to become? Because the moment you shift who you're being, the field has no choice but to meet you there. Let's bring everything full circle. When things fall apart, it's not the universe abandoning you, it's the universe reshaping you, not punishing, not rejecting, but preparing. Because before the new can arrive, The old has to loosen its grip, and that loosening, it often feels like everything is breaking down. But here's the deeper truth. The breakdown is the bridge. It's the sacred space between who you were and who you're becoming. And although that space can feel raw, uncertain, and even empty, it's not a void. It's a construction zone. The quantum field is reorganizing your timeline, your energy, your identity piece by piece, moment by moment. But there's a catch. You can't rush this phase. You can't force the breakthrough. You become it, and to do that, you need a new kind of power. Not the power of force or control, but the power of presence. So here's a simple yet powerful daily reset you can practice. When you feel overwhelmed by the chaos, step 1, the centering breath. Sit still. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Repeat 3 times. With each breath, imagine releasing urgency, fear, and the need to figure it out. Step 2, the field, declaration place. Your hand on your heart. Say quietly or aloud, even this is part of my alignment. Let that truth settle in. Let it soften your resistance. Step 3, visualize the collapse as clarity. Close your eyes and see all the chaos, the unknowns, the decisions, the doubt, not as destruction, but as particles swirling into a new order. Each breath brings them closer to coherence. You don't need to control the outcome. You only need to align your frequency with what's true. Because when you stop fighting the collapse and start trusting the process, you become the very vibration your new life is waiting for. You're not falling apart. You're coming into alignment. And the pieces that are breaking away, they were never meant to stay.